I'm really interested recently in Gallantmon, because the cards that came out in BT19, I think don't really fit super well with the red purple Gallantmon stuff we've been using in the past. And so I've been trying out a bunch of different stuff. Some of it's like just super bunk, but some of it's got some interesting promise. Like I'm trying to find a way to fit in the Gallantmons and make them useful but not a hindrance. And then it dawned on me today, Gallantmon's actually a pretty interesting Digimon because it doesn't have a level. And I think outside of red, most targeting is actually based on level. Like if something doesn't have a level, purple folds. And so, like, again, not many folks are actually running red right now. I mean, with the exception of maybe like Crossheart and red hybrid. But red hybrid's gonna like pretty much nuke anything you put down. So I realized that Gallantmon actually has some staying power in that you can kind of use it as a memory boost, minus the search, of course. But with the memory, it's actually kind of annoying to remove if your opponent doesn't have some like DP minus. So yeah, I've been really interested in that, and I think that's like currently where I'm at. I'll show you in a second like some of the things I was like messing with, because I think it's like there's some, I've just been like trying out a couple of combos, and I think that some of them have some really interesting bits to them. Never seen the combos. Yeah, I think a lot of folks, going back to Gallantmon for a second, I think a lot of folks just kind of let Gallantmon sit by the wayside. The new one seems really interesting, like really interesting. It is more expensive than the original. The original one, I think from BT9, you could play it for one cost if you just had a Digimon on the board, among the other tamer cards. But a Digimon on the board, you could just play it for one cost, and then if that Digimon evolved, you could rest it, and then you get card draw, the refunded memory essentially from playing it, which is the one cost, excuse me, and plus 3000 DP. That plus 3000 DP is actually, I think, really interesting right now. Gallantmon, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this. Oh, I love this card. This, and where's this one? Yeah, I think that when I first started messing around with Gallantmon for this set, I was using the BT19 Takato, and I think I just like this guy better. I mean, that guy's a memory setter, but the fact that you have to rest him to let a Digimon attack, whereas he just gives something that evolves Blitz without having to rest or anything, and it's not once per turn, means anytime your Digimon evolve, they can just straight attack. So you can combine that with this guy. So the idea is that if you just have Digimon on the board, at the end of the turn, as long as for as many of this tamer as you have and the pieces you need in the trash, you can just slot the level 3 and level 4 and level 5 underneath the tamer, and because it evolves into a Gallantmon, you don't have to do anything. It just gets blitzed and it can attack. That's amazing. So when you have things like Trinity Burst, which will just like make one of your level 5s be able to do ungodly amounts of damage, and you just have one of these guys sitting on the board with these two tamers, you Trinity Burst for a bunch of hits, and then end of turn processing comes, and you use this to evolve this guy directly into the Gallantmon using the pieces from the trash, and that's like your final hit for game. So like this little engine of like, the more of these you collect, just like your turn could solely just be you setting down Gallantmon, and as long as those Gallantmon have some way to attack, whether it's through rush from the EX4 Gallantmon's effect, or the rush from BT13 Gallantmon, you have ways to just keep attacking at end of turn. I think that's super interesting. Like the fact that you can just either, you have like, this isn't a main game plan, but it's always an option of just going super crazy. But then you do also have the way to just like set down Gallantmon on board, and then later on, as long as you've got these tamers out, like multiple copies of this guy, then you can just evolve them up, and that's multiple swings at the end of the turn for 0 memory, by the way. And then if it's not like a game-winning turn, you also have the threat of Gallantmon Ace, and so I think that is like super interesting. If this guy comes down, it's basically game over. So I'm kind of leaning into that idea, and again, I tried the 4-cost one out from BT19, but I felt like having to rest and only being able to get it one time, or for one Digimon, was really annoying. So this guy just is like the blanket instead. So just get Blitz and yeah, you're good. Also, he gives memory back middle of the turn, and I find that recently Gallantmon wants to do this thing where it passes the memory over, destroys some stuff and attacks, and then passes it back to 0. And I feel like this like boomeranging between, this boomeranging between 0 and your opponent's side of the board, or a memory counter, is kind of what they're pushing Gallantmon toward. So you take a look at some of the new cards, like, well, this is one example. Well, it's not really a great example, but the new Gallantmon is amazing. Like you've got these two guys down, or just this guy. This Gallantmon from BT19, like this is already 3 memory. This is a 3 memory set right here. So he gets +1 memory if you have the Takato Tamer or a Gallantmon down, and this gives you +1 memory if you have a Digimon down. So these right here, like a 3 memory setter. And then yeah, you've got this Gallantmon. I'm still trying this guy out. I don't know if I like him or not. He gets piercing +3000 if he doesn't destroy something, but when he does destroy something, you get 2 memory back. So like that's what I mean when I talk about like that bounce from like 0 to 2 and etc. etc. And also you get the memory back from this fella whenever you destroy something as well. So that's like +1 again, right? So it's like a 2 memory turn. You do something like you pull this guy out of raising. Got this fellow just sitting here, and you have nothing else on board, right? You just, let's imagine it came out. It does have a, you can do something like play this Gallantmon for 1 and then evolve into the new Growlmon. This guy's amazing. Who says if you have 1 or less tamers in play, you can be, or you can just play a new Takato. So we play out this guy right here. So that's a 2-cost evolve, right? And then you rest the Gallantmon, +1 memory. He gets, you also get another card draw. He gets +3000 for the turn. You get to keep your turn. And then you do something like this. Imagine I actually maxed out, I'm just trying it out, maxed out scramble cards for this deck. So this is like a 2-cost evolve here. And then because you have Blitz, you can attack with it immediately. If you don't have anything to destroy, he gets sec +1. If you do have something to destroy, he can destroy up to 10,000 because of the +2000 in both his inheritance effects. He can swing for 2 checks if you don't destroy something. And if you do destroy something, then you basically lock your opponent at 1 while you get to attack. So, or you just leave him there for the potential ace. The 3-cost one is almost similar, but you need more memory to do that. This guy also helps out as well because you can reduce this to a 2-cost and then rest him and then evolve into this guy and then play the tamer as well. So yeah, I think there's some interesting stuff there. I just want to really explore it more. But yeah, that's enough for my Gallantmon soapbox. Please rate my TED Talk, like, comment, and subscribe. Hey there, so East from the future here, and I've been really racking my brain with this Gallantmon deck, and I actually learned something after my initial talk that you're hearing right now, probably in the YouTube video, that I thought was super interesting. I've been trying to figure out ways to get multiple attacks at the end of the turn, and thanks very much to all the people in the rules discussion and the rules questions channels in the Digimon Discord for holding my hand and really helping me through this process, because I found out that attack processing and resolving effects doesn't work the way I thought it did. And I thought it was super interesting, so I figured I'd share it with you folks out there in YouTube land as well, because maybe I'll teach somebody else something as well. I'm assuming somebody else has to not know this. Maybe it's just me though, I don't know. So let's imagine we have this scenario where I want to give Blitz to both of these 2 Digimon here by evolving them at end of turn. Like I have memories tipped over to one of my opponent's turn, and I've got 2 BT7 Takatos who let me Digivolve into a Gallantmon directly if I've got the right cards in trash. And I've also got the 1 EX2 which gives Blitz. So end of turn would come, I would trigger both of these Takatos. So both these Takatos kind of be in the queue to be resolved. And so I start resolving them immediately by taking, for the first Takato, the War Growlmon and the Growlmon cards and the Tamer himself, put them all up underneath the Gallantmon, and then I would just evolve that into the Gallantmon in hand. Now, he would also gain Blitz because of the Takato Tamer, and he also would have his own evolve effects that would resolve those. And then I would then use the Blitz to attack. And so I declare the attack with Dukemon, and I use the when attacking effects. Any of my opponents, when an opponent's Digimon attack effects also resolve here. But you can't proceed with this attack to the counter timing with any pending effects in the processing queue. And we still have this one triggered here that we haven't resolved yet. So we would actually put this attack on pause before opponent's counter timing and actually resolve this Takato Tamer's effects to evolve this Gallantmon into a Gallantmon. So again, I do the same thing by sticking the Growlmon and the War Growlmon underneath, along with the Tamer onto the Gallantmon. And then I would evolve it into a Gallantmon. And like before, he would get his evolve effects. He would also get the evolve Blitz. Keep in mind, he has Blitz. And now that all of the effects in the queue have been processed, I I go back to the Dukemon's attack and resolve that. So then opponent's counter timing happens, and then we resolve the attack as normal block timing, attack resolution, all that stuff. And then you would probably assume that I could attack with this Gallantmon here, but actually my turn would end. My turn's over. Yeah, funny how that works, huh? So technically, the second blitz, it triggered and it resolved, but the resolution was that nothing happened because I've gone past the timing for this second attack here. I can't go back and actually do that because it's already been resolved, which is kind of unintuitive, isn't it? So actually, the most you can do with a situation like this is only get one attack. So you can get 2 Gallantmon up, which is cool, but you only get 1 attack. Now you're probably wondering, well, if you can't use the Blitz guy, what about instead of him, the new BT19 Takuto Tamers instead? These guys let you evolve and then attack a player. They say you can attack a player within the card's effect. So let's go back and we'll reset and we'll show you how this one works as well. So now let's imagine this setup on board. We've got 2 of the BT17 Takutos who let us evolve into a Gallantmon directly from a Guillamon. We've also got 2 of the BT19 Takutos who give our Digimon raid when we evolve into a Gallantmon or Growlmon named Digimon. And it also lets us attack the player if we want. So again, imagine our turn ends, then we go to the end of turn processing. So we trigger both the Takutos like before, and then we resolve the first one. We say, okay, Takuto plus 2 of the source cards into our sources, and we evolve into the Gallantmon like before. Then we rest the Takuto Tamer here, and as a result of resting that, this triggers and resolves by giving him a raid and the ability to attack the player. So, like before, we can attack the player here, and do all the attacking effects. And before counter timing, we have to pause because we still have effects that are in the queue when we trigger the end of turn effect from this Takuto here. And so, like before, we're going to do the same thing. Take the 2 source cards, put them underneath the level 3 along with the Tamer, and evolve into the Gallantmon here. And we can rest him, and he gains a raid and the ability to attack the player, but we have to return to this first attack. Put very simply, you cannot declare a second attack in the middle of resolving one. I don't know if I said that before, but I really want to stress that point. And that's why it works like this. So we go through this Dukemon, we continue the attack, opponent gets counter timing, they get block timing, and the attack resolves as it would normally. And you'd think we could come back to this guy because he can attack the player, but actually that effect's already been resolved. And so, yeah, again, you can only attack 1 time. I didn't know this. So when you have a bunch of effects processing, and in the middle of those effects, you would attack, instead of attacking, finishing the attack, and then going back and processing the second effects, you have to go back and process the second effects first, and then you can continue the first attack, and the second attack is just lost. The one way I've kind of gotten around this is if you can somehow attack before the turn ends, and then you can resolve one of the Tamer's effects to attack after that. Let me show you what I mean. All right, so now that I've gotten set up again, let's imagine our turn technically hasn't ended, and we have 1 memory left over. And we use the Trinity Burst option card. So Trinity Burst for 8 lets us play 2 tokens, and the Megalo Growlmon can then attack the player as per the effect. And it has Alliance, so I can alliance with the 2 tokens. And it would check 3, and I would process this attack as it's happening, because the effect is here. I've attacked, I've resolved the effect, I've resolved the attack, and then because the memory's tipped over, it can actually process the end of turn Takuto effects to evolve the Guillamon into a Gallantmon. Like so, into the Gallantmon in hand, and then we can rest this guy. And because there's no pending attack at this point, because the attack from Trinity Burst is already over, we can actually get and resolve this effect here with just the 1 attack. So raid plus attack the player, you attack the player, you can change the attack target, and then process the attack as you would normally. So this works, you get 2 attacks this way, because you technically did all this before the turn ended, before this effect from the Takuto Tamer got queued up. So if you had 2 sets of the 2 Takuto Tamers, you had the 2 of the BT17, 2 of the BT19, you could still only get 1 attack maximum at the end of the turn because they're both processing at the end of the turn at the same time. And again, you cannot declare a second attack in the middle of resolving the effects for anything that's still pending. Whew. All right. Sorry, that was a soapbox. Again, I really appreciate the folks in the rules discussion and rules questions discords because they really, really helped me out with this one because I did not think it actually worked like that, and I had my mind blown. Yeah. All right, back to the rest of the video. Sorry. Also, I've been more of the opinion recently that red needs to have a new form of destruction. I don't know what they call it, but basically whatever removed from the game is. Maybe they could call it like export. I don't really care what you name it, but I really hope that they give red like removal from game. They don't delete something, they like super delete something. The scramble seemed perfect for Gallantmon. Yeah, I agree. Gallantmon is this kind of deck where I feel like every turn I can just spawn a level 6 through some means, whether it's a tamer, a scramble card, the Gallantmon, this guy right here. I feel like there's lots of ways that you should be able to just like spit out a level 6 every single turn. Something like banish. Yeah. So like banish or exile, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, they're probably gonna like make it like computer themed, and so you can't say delete. In task would be good. Maybe that's a little too long though. So, something like move to trash. No, like super move to trash. Like not recycle bin. I'm talking don't come back. Like we call it like export or something, and then give yellow the ability to bring back cards removed from the game and call it import or something. I don't know. But yeah, I've been really interested in Gallantmon these past couple days, and so I've been like messing with that on the side. And today after work, I tried it out a little bit. Yeah, I really do think that the EX2 Takato is still the way to go. The 3 memory setter is nice, but locking my Digimon to only attacking one time is kind of rough if I want to go super wide. I want that option to just like play a bunch of Digimon and just like evolve them up.